We've
we
got
are
both teams on stage already. Because look for the Sejuani. That's been something that Ning has gone towards pretty much every time it's available, and he has used that to be a real kind of standard bearer for Ultra Prime in the very early game, being able to gank multiple lanes and have good teamfight impact on that Sejuani. Problem is, though, feels like when they get to the point where it gets into mid-game, they have struggled to capitalize even on some early laning kind of leads. And that's what I really need to see from Ultra Prime today if they're going to give me something to be impressed by. First pick, I'm wondering if we're going to go towards something like a Rise. It's actually not going to be that. Important though, folks, you see that Yuumi ban? That signifies that we're still on 13.1 for today. We haven't moved on to the new patch, which does mean, of course, that the 80 carry meta is a little bit different as well. You're not going to have as many as those Novori seconds. But that being said, even on 13.1b and the future patches, we're still seeing a lot of the same 80 carries. And of course, some of the same junglers as well that Elise has been everywhere.
It's just crazy that, yeah, again, you know, we're a little bit behind, and I'm sure players playing on solo queue are coming into the competitive games like, hang on a minute, what really feels different at the moment for me? For LGD, you're right, the Elise comes through, which Hacker's been playing a lot in the league. Media now going to try emulate him. I think Hacker was one of the best Elises, so that's fun. Speaking of fun, what the hell
what is that?
That is cursed. That's like one of those old dolls.
You know what I need to see now? You know the game like Getting Over It, where you have like a little guy in like a little cauldron thing?
Screw that game,
but
dude.
with that, I know it's hilarious, it is awful, and I kind of want to see it. We are going to see that Rise being locked in, watching in the mid lane for Ultra Prime. This is a pick that they've only played the one time. It is also banned an awful lot in the LPL. It's banned an awful lot globally. What I will say, though, is that Rise is a pick which you need to have really good mid-games on. Using that Realm Warp, using that priority, the pick does scale very well, but if you're not using the Realm Warp well, the pick loses a lot of its value. That also it's not where Ultra Prime have really found their strengths in that mid-game. They've tended to make one or two mistakes and the game kind of flips away from them. But maybe this gives them the tools to be a bit more creative with what they're looking for.
I mean, as you were saying before, like, it's mid-game onwards, and that's where Ultra Prime falter. But to further the point, if the early game strength is there, well, maybe play towards an early game comp, but they've gone completely opposite because LGD are the ones who are playing the poke here, Nymera, playing towards that range, especially in, you know, through the laning phase. Tell me a little bit more about what you want to see in their bottom lane for LGD, because right now it's starting to get banned away with more of those lane priority Eddie carries in mind.
Yeah, so I think what you need to see here, because you have the range advantage, what you would typically be seeing is something like a Lulu speeding up some kind of initiation to try and close that distance. So I'd be looking for some lane dominance and some disengage out of that support role. You could potentially, I was about to say you could look towards something like a Heimerdinger, which kind of does a bit of both. So Ultra Prime banning away two of those long range, kind of like putting the hand on the forehead, arms stretched out while your little brother can't swing at you with his little arms. That's what you're really looking for, right? LGD looking for some kind of disengage on the bot side. As towards the top side, sorry top players, you are basically the side quest for the main story, which is the rest of the map in bot lane. K'Sante is very good in blind pick matchup, that's typically why it's locked in. Harry, though, on the other side, has a chance to lock in something like a Renaxin, maybe something like a Fiora. Harry plays a bit of Camille, could go towards something a little bit more volatile, but you're realistically not going to be getting as much resources as a Zeri, and of course the lane dominance of the Varus on the bot side of that.
As we know, it's just going to be about that bottom side again. It's going to be the sign up in the top. And now for Ning, the question is it just going to be a Sejuani game? Because you talked about it before. This is Ning's most played champion. This is something he's just hovered to quite easily. And there's going to be a massive front line for a Zeri Lulu. Yeah. It feels like a no-brainer, right?
It could also be a vibe, but because it's Ning, just go for the Sejuani, mate. It just makes things so much easier for your team. Okay. We haven't seen this yet.
That is Ning's style, though.
Globally. It's Ning's style. And actually, just before we came live, I was like, I wonder what he'll do on something like a Jarvan that comes back into meta. This is before the buffs. Now, Jarvan is getting some buffs with W coming in, where the more attack damage he builds, the more that his W shield goes up with as well. This is still, however, a lot of what Ultra Prime needed to do to counter this very long-range engage, very long composition, rather, from LGD. You have the Sion altitude, which can't really be disengaged from. He's unstoppable when he's going in. And the Jarvan as well can fly a full screen's worth. With something like a Zeri with a Lulu on top of them, they can actually follow up that engage fairly well. So now this game is going to be about, okay, I think Ultra Prime, you need to find those key engages before LGD get value out of this very long-range composition. Even the Nautilus hook kind of adds into it. As much as the Nautilus is going melee himself, the hook starts from half the screen away, and that's something which the rest of his team will be kind of sat at that kind of distance as well. So watch for how quickly these fights start. If it doesn't start very quickly, I think that probably favors LGD. If it does start quickly, though, look towards Ultra Prime.
Okay, well, I think at the very least, we know there's a lot of CC coming from the side of LGD, and I'll be worried about killing the Scion later on. Because if this goes for quite a while, Ultra Prime, Nightmare, it seems pretty cut and dry that this team is going to be running absolutely fine into LGD, and that's why this matters so much here, starting in game number 1. Let's find out if one of these teams can move to 2, because technically, it has to happen. It's just about who does it here.
One of them, in fact, mathematically does have to be on 2 series wins after this,
yeah.
Which means that one of them will be... Like, it's a very nebulous term saying, ooh, the mid-table, but there are an awful lot of teams who are sat at those 2 series wins.
Sure.
And falling behind and going to 1-5 after this series, I know I said this a week or 2 ago. It reminds me of... It's a saying in the Premier League, actually, in the UK. You can't win the league by this point in the split, but you can lose it. If you're sat at 1-5 after this series, I mean, you can kiss those playoff dreams goodbye almost.
True. Well, who is gonna lose the league? Who's gonna be going down to the bottom? Also, who's gonna be making it in the middle of the table? It's pretty easy to see the Ultra Prime's composition is Namira already set up, getting some of those engages, but also just scaling is purely there. LGD, we talked about range quite a bit here. Laning phase is going to be important, Nightmare, I feel like, from what you've said, from LGD as well, considering that we do have Engage in the bottom lane for, I think, the first time in 6-7 games. Like, Nautilus Leona was picked up by Hung over on...
Balan had one game of it as well, actually.
He did. That is Balan's style.
It didn't work, but it was close to working. I believe that was against... That might have even been against Top, actually, where... In fact, that was Dogger's Draven game, where he went... 0-0-0, and even though he had a support that was kind of playing with him, it was Draven Nautilus into the Lucian army. That's kind of one of the lanes that we've seen an awful lot in the LPL, and with G2 as well in the early season, so picking up that lane. But yeah, having this engage back, you can definitely see the players like Balan, like Mark, like a number of these other support players really thriving off of having some support engage options again. Let's see if Jin Zhao can find something in this bot side of the map to get things started well.
Well, LPC on this Varus has been a priority pick in the LPL as well. This has just been top tier, so kind of curious to see how it goes because he's going lethal tempo. It's on-hit Varus coming this time as well. Instead of the Halo Blades, where we've seen a lot of lethality so far. It'll just be a race towards that level 2. Jungler's starting on the same side of the map as well. And Ning picking up Jarvan. I mean, Nightmare, it has been a while since we've seen this pick. But the fact that Ning's doing it...
From his Jarvan? Any favorite ones?
Dude. Like, the teleports that came out of IG on his flag, the engages from Ning followed up by the insane, like, rookie Galio performances. Yeah, I can say I got a few.
Well, see if he can replicate any of that today. Double teleports on his team. Well, that's a very good point. Actually, considering the amount of flank potential this team has, worth mentioning that. Drop a flag over the wall, see if Terry or Ching can get into things easily. Level 3 at least, very, very strong and high.
Early. Well, might be a flash at the very least. Ching to go over the wall, but he's waiting patiently. But Meteor follows up. Venomous Bite, Cocoon combo, and High Chow's there as well. First blood to LGD. You blew it and you snoozed it.
Oh, Meteor. He's such a creative jungler. He's been a player which has played so many different picks. The Elise is a bit more commonplace for his champion pool, but ganking mid lane as an Elise level 3 isn't something that we see very often. It is often about heading towards bot lane, in fact, impacting that 2v2, because bot lane has been so volatile in the current meta. But credit to him, he finds the gap, and Haichao also gets the wave in a great place to get phase rush, get a couple of extra autos down. And by the time the phase rush runs off, the flash is not nearly enough to save them. First blood over to that Jace. Good strong start in that laning phase. When Jace gets ahead, you could look at that Scion and say, oh, they're going to be quite hard to kill later on. Well, Jace is going to be running this show until they get to that point. So,
very
LGD, good start.
When we talk about lane being vital, as Meteor goes for the punish, flag and drag there. Great repel up. Now the fight in River ensues. The 4 versus 4 this early on. Yeah, kitty stacks, baby. Get your turtlenecks on as Ultra Prime are losing the health bar war, but they turn to High Chow, or rather Jin Zhao. He dies first, double kill flashes away. Ning goes in, a double kill over to Lulu. What the hell? Triple almost given over to Balan. And this is why Ning and Balan, IG World Champions, roll out with some OG picks and do so well.
What are we doing here, folks? What's happening? We're just in a 4v4 in bot side, 4 minutes in? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see where all that gold went to. Second kill over to Jace. Already talked about how after that first blood, okay, yeah, Jace runs the show, gets early gold. But, you know, Lulu walks away from this play with like 2 kills and an assist. Have to see if that first time from the Lulu comes in important too. Going back to what actually happened in the fight though. Really just feels though, as soon as the first cooldowns went down, you're not getting gold rush at this point. And you get lethal tempo stacking, lethal tempo on the Varus as well, but I mean, the Zeri's the one that actually stays alive. Felt like LGD, they didn't have the damage to finish off the Zeri, and they ended up at a bit of a 80 carry difference the longer that fight went on.
And Balan now has a bounty. You asked about item, well, we've got a Bandle Glass Mirror already picked up here, so Balan is rolling in it right now. And the other kill went over to Doggo. So when we heavily talked about, again, LGD, how they play out this early game, already Ultra Prime in a great position to just coast at Nymera, considering that fight put them up 1,000 gold at 5 minutes into the game.
That's actually pretty huge. And why I was kind of talking about it for the Zeri, it's more visible in something like a Nami, right? Where you go for the Imperial Mandate, huge spike for that champion. But supports, when they get their first item, are actually really valuable. If it's something like a Shirelia's, that's really important for the entire team of Ultra Prime coming out from Balan. So we'll have to check when that item completion comes in. And it will be much quicker than what you'd normally see from that support. LGD have to start taking that stuff into account, unless they get caught off guard by it.
And I also want to point out with that lead in the bottom lane is the CS too. Didn't get check wave state there, Nymera, for the 4v4 fight, but I'm assuming the wave got shoved into LPC by the looks of it, because 20 CS right now looks to be the difference. And with a kill from Doggo, I'm assuming 80 carry difference is like 500, 600, 700 gold. Something around the mark where Doggo should be getting to that first item a little bit sooner than LPC as well.
Yeah, also, that's very important to track. If it's something like the shield bow coming out from Doggo, which we tend to see after Zeri anyway, we'll just, again, make it a little bit harder for that poke damage to stick. LGD, they want to get ahead of this game and stay ahead. Have to see what happens with dragon stacking as well. Typically, when you get a bot lane advantage, it gives you a leg up on this dragon. We already saw the fight in the bot river, but as it stands right now, Ultra Prime, they're looking to see if Ning could make an impact in this bot lane. Very interested to see if LGD commit towards Dragon Star, or if they want to start picking a fight on this bot side.
They knew Ning was there. They know that Ning is on the bottom side because the ward spotted him crossing, but Dredgeline
doesn't stop them throwing the hook.
Maybe Doggo should have let it be baited. As Ning is just waiting in brush, and the timing is not great because Media's just backed away. All it takes is Jin Zhao walking forward, get a Dredgeline for Realm Warp there. And yeah, the level 6, you're right. And now with the flag drag, LPC gets electrocuted to death. Man, Ultra Prime are controlling this early game.
Now, you see, a certain famous movie turned 20 years old in the last couple of days. I'd like to remind people of it because a jungler is never late or early. He arrived precisely when he means to, which is very much in the help of something like a magical Realm Warp. The Lord of the Xing in the mid lane does very well to return towards that bot lane, gets that really important kill, second kill onto that Varus, and sets Ultra Prime up for really good early game success.
Dude, the fact is as well, Ning getting the resources ain't like any other jungler at the moment. He is going lethality too. So picking up that gold, being able to impact the bot side.
I love that so much.
And look, it's going to be dangerous. He's going to be spotted on a ward, so that Cataclysm can't be used this early on, but still at the very least, Ning threatens while Meteor has to get a response, and it's going to be towards the Herald in the top side.
Yeah, so it is going to be a bit of a cross map, but still, just kind of checking in on the game state. It's not the hugest gold advantage, but that gold's going into important places in Ultra Prime, and importantly, it's gold away from someone like that Varus. Now, if Varus is down in levels, down in gold, heading to a later shield bow, something like a lethality jobber, which I love that is coming out of here from Ning, is going to absolutely dunk this poor carry, just puts them even further behind. Drake Giant just missing from Jin Zhao there. Not found the most success on this Nautilus, which we said has been less present in the meta. We've had some players really find success with it, but Jin Zhao not really finding much so far in the early game.
And I understand the logic here, right? You said Ultra Prime mid-game has been their weakness because they haven't been able to transition well. Well, if you have a comp that just outscales, if you keep playing the same in the early game with things like facilitating Jarvan, then Nymera, it's genius. Then the mid-game doesn't matter. You could run it down. You're probably going to be okay.
I love that. It's kind of like, you know, like new blueprint unlocked, and they've found this identity for themselves, which as we said, kind of coming into the second series today, we've got two teams lined up in OMG and Rare Raptor, which have found their comfort zone. Ultra Prime and LGD, neither of them have yet. So a game like this from Ultra Prime, where the early game has once again started off fairly well, but actually they have something which looks more intuitive to play around the later the game goes on. It's easier to play around. That's good signs for them, because they're set up 1-4. They need some good news.
They do indeed. And again, great start here in Game 1. We've got a 30 CS lead now for Doggo, by the way. Big wave building up bot side, but that threat from Ning, even though it didn't turn into a gank, turned into pressure. That gave them more comfortability and yet another plate. Here we go. Second one about to come through. Doggo takes up the gold, and things are just looking peachy here. And I also need to point out that Ning's just picked up the Umbral Glaive nice and early. So even though Haichao got the kills earlier on, we are still talking about Ultra Prime being in control here with the gold lead, with the first dragon, with the items, being able to match somewhat. And be able to make sure that LGD don't really have a say at this point in time. Nymera, does it take the Herald play? Like, what do you do as a response?
Well, I think next time we have a Dragon Spawn would be really interesting to see if LGD feel like they can set up on the objective and use that gold they do have on their Jace to buy themselves some space around that area of the map. So look for that second Herald, look for that Dragon. That's when we need to see these Shock Blasts like we see landing now make some impact. Flash potentially in mid lane with that Herald. He goes for it.
Okay, worthwhile. Ching not having that summoner available means he is abusable here with the Herald getting dropped down regardless. Ning did flag a drag, Cataclysm. Oh my god, and the Lulu ultimate. You know what? Ning and Baolan have played before as they're going to survive for the time being. Jin Jiao throws out the moat for good faith while LGD still get gold towards mid. And this might even be a dive. Ching trying to clear the wave and run away. This is nice movement. Haichao flashes in the nick with a rappel down. Ching is dead. Haichao with 3 kills. And LGD still have a response in this early game.
That's some big gold to give over to, once again, Haichao in this mid lane as well. 4 plates, soon to be 5. First turret, 338 gold cashed in for both members in that mid lane for first tower, the tower kill itself, and then the very last plate. So Ning swing and a miss in that bot lane, going for the dunk on that bot side combo, mainly due to a really good Nautilus ult. But this lead, which we've seen built up from this during this bot lane of Ultra Prime, is now starting to get seriously put up against this increasing mid lane advantage coming out from Haichao. When this comes around to the next objective fight, we're going to really see these leads come head to head. The poke of the Jace and the burst compared to the longevity in the fight of this area. And speaking of that longevity in that fight power, Doggo actually couldn't really get that, couldn't really bring that in that fight. Gets stuck on that Java Cataclysm wall and can't really put down the DPS.
Baolan knocked him out. Baolan's ulti actually knocked them out of the Cataclysm. I think they would have died.
No, you're not welcome in the Thunderdome.
Oh my god. That's
36
just, you know,
Dragon.
that's Baolan.
Vision starting to get set up. Ning has that Umbral Glaive. That'll help with that, but watch out for the Shock Blast. One lands on Baolan. See who else takes damage. Don't have a 2-item spike coming through for anyone just yet. Far too early in the game for that. Actually, only really just getting around to first item spike so far. So really have to see where this damage lands and whether Ultra Prime can once again start these fights quickly. If they go slow and LGD get multiple rounds of cooldown, I'm expecting them to get more value out of their team compass at this point.
Because again, as you're saying, you know, we still need to wait for San to tank up as well. Like, they're not the big fridges that they know they're going to be, as they may have found a pick. Ning gets in and he gets the kill. Jin Jiao, what are you doing? Well, now that he's dead, that might be easier for Ultra Prime, depending if they can dodge Shock Blast, which maybe they can. Ning decides to go into Narnia. Yeah, he doesn't flag and drag away. And there's Cassante. Now we yakety sacks a bit as Doggo gets the ulti off. And Zeri things, run away from Zeri. There's the heal, his ulti goes on. Oh, I love this champion. Run for the hills, and now Dragon maybe happens as Harry ults into the void. Haichao's already out of there, and that's about the play.
Yeah, so, about that whole, if the fight starts quickly, kind of favors Ultra Prime. It's kind of what happens there, right? Because Jin Jiao just kind of throws his face into enemy vision. Really risky from the Nautilus. You are not a tank. You're not ahead in this game. A Nautilus, when you're behind, is very much a pinata. At the end of this, though, because of the 1-for-1, it does mean that LGD get the first crack at this because Ultra Prime decides to actually go for some resets after that point. But end of the day, getting another kill on Doggo, getting some, actually goes, but either way, like getting some more kills over towards this bot side as well, and this kind of the team fighting combo of Ultra Prime, that is very dangerous for LGD. They get themselves that dragon. It's not like they stacked up too early. And while the fight is all well and nice, the way that LGD approach this, going for the burst as opposed to multiple rounds of cooldowns, that just feels really dangerous to me. I don't think they're approaching these fights in the right way.
Yeah, agreed. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Ning.
I'm glad that you're finding something really interesting about this.
Oh, I'm having a good go as Baolan's just dead. No, Blast going saves his life. Hang on, Ning's dead. That's the IG jungler I remember. Baolan is dead. He's dead. Dead doo-doo. No way does he get out of this. High Chow, yep. You know what? I have a lot of faith in LGD because Ning and Baolan are giving me deja vu.
There isn't really much to say about that fight. It's just people just throwing themselves at each other. You know, Jake, I'm starting to think that I'm approaching this game in the wrong way. I'm talking about this thing in a slow, considered objective settings from a longer range team fighting team with a 5-kill Jake. That seems like it's so intuitive. No, we don't do that here. High Chow just gets straight into the fight. In fairness, you can't really blame him when you just find a Lulu, like, you know, 3,000 nautical miles away from his nearest teammate. Does very well to kind of get away over that blast cone, but why are you there? What are you doing? And like, two Hextech portals later, and Jace uses his own inventions from the city of Piltover to fell his Yordle opponents.
It's Freelo at this point, isn't he? He's 20 CS up, and he has 5 kills. High Chow is humongous, and even though that early game 4v4 went to Ultra Prime, now I'm just like, well, you have a Jarvan who's gone Umbral Glaive, who, by the way, is going tank second item. Like, we have seen this in the past.
Yes, you do see Gordring second out of this. This is Umbral Glaive. It's just a stupid item, man. It gives you so much vision control. When you have lots of games around team fighting and vision control, and pick champions like Jarvan as well. Just making sure they don't have enemy wards to see where you're coming from gives you a lot of value. Jinzhou, he might not see where this is coming from, but Ning does step up, does take that ward, but both teams playing with full information.
I guess, again, for Ultra Prime, they've thrown a couple of things away, but still, you know, the gold lead's not as big as I could have expected it. Optimism is still there somewhat, as Ching takes a shock blast. Not doing too much against him, but remember that Ryze is kind of immune. Just has so much health in the game, and I guess Nymera, we have to wait until the next dragon because that's kind of going to be the big fight.
Because we're kind of getting back to that point where, you know, we once again talked very highly of Ultra Prime's early game.
We did.
And the mid game has proved to be problematic. Now, Herald does go down towards his top side. High Chow being the beneficiary of everything that LGD can give to him on this Jace. Looking towards the next couple of minutes, see what this Herald happens with. And LGD, it feels like as they're moving into this top side, look at the vision that they have. Look at the pushing power that they have. If one hook lands, things get very dangerous. Can Ultra Prime look for a snap engage, use that Jarvan? That could be a turning point, but as it stands, feels like LGD have first crack at the next play.
And Ching has to be careful as well. You talked about the hook, there's Cocoon, there's Chains of Corruption, there's Jace as well. They're in their own jungle. The Doggo gets caught, but maybe it's a ruse. However, Ning...
he just explodes!
Yeah, Ning's dead again. High Chow, now he's dead. Who's going to die next? The night is dark and full of terrors. It's Ultra Prime now going to chase up with a Realm Warp. Hextech Gate only utilized by one person. It's Baolan by himself. It's LP's by himself too. What is this game?
Well, if the night is dark and full of terrors, welcome to a new season of A Game of Throws. As we have, for some reason, LGD giving a huge shutdown away to this Scion. That is one of the big things about this Ultra Prime composition. Despite having some worries in mid-game, throughout the entirety of Spring so far, if you let this Scion off the leash and they get to a point where actually that shock blast is absorbed by a 5,000 HP Scion with 3 items, things get really, really difficult. You know what? I almost would have tanked that for the Jace. I feel like that was a mistake of LGD's. The Elise and the Nautilus, the less valuable members, dodging around that Scion and letting the Jace with all your damage and gold dying. After that point, you see that Ultra Prime, they just completely run away with the DPS raise towards the end of that fight.
And Nymera, I still think they can run it a bit and win this game. Like, we've already talked about
yeah, you're probably not wrong.
Maybe that's the whole gameplay. I mean, Ning's died 4 times now. I just don't know what he's thinking. We're going to fight again, aren't we? All right. Gear it up towards mid now. I reckon this time, Ning... Will he die first? He's got Radiant Virtue just so he can live a little longer.
Yeah.
He'll flag drag. Ready? Wait
Have
for
to
it.
see what happens with that one. Really got to see. That's a big group. Again, every time someone groups up so heavily on the same screen, you're just asking for a Cataclysm. Flash available as well. Harry around the corner.
Who's going to go in first? Okay, Xiaoxu is taking up a lot of damage. His high Xiao's angle is great, but all he has to do is get a shock blast onto the back line. For the time being, Harry takes the shock blast. High Xiao, you haven't done too much so far as Ultra Prime are choking them out a bit. And this team that has Cloak is dealing with a Scion that's still big enough. That ult from LPC hits no one. There you go. High Xiao finally hits the back line as they get in. Jin Xiao's ulti, amazing. They're trying to hit Doggo, but he gets away, and now it's dead doo-doo again. I don't care that High Xiao got the kill. The problem is that he took too long to die, and Ultra Prime just get away with it again.
They do, because this is what happens when the Scion's online. LGD, they're firing shock blasts into the very tanky Scion. You can see what happens when the damage does eventually hit the backline. But you're right, it's too little, it's too late. Baron is going to fall. Ultra Prime, mid-game worries aside, they're now in a point where if they take this objective, LGD, I don't know how they fight back from that. They don't have the ability to stand at range when these superpowered creeps are flying into their base. This Baron goes down, the game just about goes with it.
LPC, we have seen Varus steal Barons before. This is the game to do it. This is the game to do it. This is the game. Oh no, they're out. Okay, Ning got the smite. Well, Ning, I'm proud of you for that.
He's had a pretty okay one. It is really, you know, we asked for early in the game. Do you have any favorite memories of Ning on his job? And yes, plenty of them. Also, a couple of bad ones thrown in there too, but you know, it doesn't matter because the rest of his team at this point do more than fine. That Cataclysm does a lot of work to keep Doggo alive, keep him safe, and Doggo does die at the end of it, but it's far too late. Too much has been expended, there's too much damage already been dealt, and you're now sat with huge item breakpoints being built across the board by Ultra Prime and LGD. I don't see how they deal with this Baron. They're probably not going to lose their Nexus off of this push, but they're going to lose so many turrets. There's only one fallen on their side of the map so far. That gold lead after this point is going to be very difficult to deal with as long as Ultra Prime see it out to its full potential.
Now, it's stat time because as Ultra Prime start pushing through, I need to tell you something about some of the champions on this team. Scion is 9-1 currently in the LPL. Okay. This game seems impossible for him to lose because all he has to stand there and look pretty. I'm looking at Ryze at the time being as well, our most played mid laner. Currently, 23 and 15 has a 60% win rate. There's just some of these picks in the LPL right now that are just so damn good.
That's a good point to bring up because it feels like the Cassante blind pick has particularly been answered by the Scion as well for multiple reasons. The Cassante needs help in demolishing this lane in a 1v1. The Cassante doesn't completely lock something like the Scion out of the game. It doesn't matter if the Scion's down 20, 30, even 40 CS at that point. It doesn't even matter if you kill him that much. You saw the Shy winning on, what, a 0-6 game the other day. As soon as he gets to the point where you know, he can just stand in front of his fair 80 carries where you've actually put your effort into, things get very, very difficult. But that fair 80 carry is getting worse.
Hail Mary, Doggo a bit too far forward. And guess what? Ning's dead again. So if you run into the base with your 80 carry head first, you can still lose the game.
Where are you, Harry? Where you at, buddy? Not sure you're there to protect your 80 carry. That was a real big slip up. 2 minutes until the Dragon does mean that the objectives are being picked off, but this should have been a death knell for the game. This is now just a bit of a... Oh, look, it's still not good for LGD in terms of the whole phase of play from the Baron power play, but shutting down the 80 carry, getting big gold over onto, once again, Aisha 7-2 on that Jace, means that the game is not out of sight just yet, and there will be objectives coming out in the next few minutes that maybe they can look to try and eventually weave some of those shock blasts around that Scion and get some real value out of their team fights that they've struggled to so far. Gonna go back to the replay because this is just Doggo going way too far forward. You don't have your Scion. Not too much else to talk about this one. It's just poor decision making and not having the members in the right place on the map from Ultra Prime, and that gives LGD a much needed breath of life in this mid to late game.
Well, look, they are close in gold. They do have a Dragon too, and we've got a Hextech Soul coming through as Ning is going to Cataclysm and Elise. Now, I went to school and I was told not to do that as Flag and Dragmate proved me wrong because no one's there from LGD to follow up, so in the end it was good. I've just been doubting Ning because I'm really 50-50 on the bench.
Oh man, he likes to keep you guessing. Keeps everyone guessing on the Rift and in the audience. Now we're getting to the point where all 5 members of Ultra Prime are suddenly here. The Shock Blast being absorbed by the Sion. It doesn't matter. Hook absorbed by the Jarvan. Doggo is untouched.
Okay, well, Harry ults out and just doesn't want to be the Sion that takes another loss. As Doggo's ulti could be good this time. Yeah, the damage was insane, especially from the burst. And Xin Zhao going in is almost to a death sentence too. And Ultra Prime get 2 more kills.
They do, and Doggo this time is protected. It's pretty easy flow chart. If Doggo's alive, even a significant amount of time in the fight, LGD lose it. Haichao couldn't, again, really get the damage down in the right kind of time frame to upset that AD carry. And now you're at the point where you've lost your jungler, you lost your top laner in the run-up to this objective. Ultra Prime have a couple of low HP bars, though. Watch to see, again, where that next Shock Blast is going to land. If it hits someone squishy, she might have something to play around.
Ning's ulti starts it off, flag and drag. Okay, this time, will I call it beautiful? Yeah, because it probably helps to end the game as Ching is slowing down Haichao. TP as well to cut him off, running for his life. The Realm Warp, are we out of range? No, we're not. Okay, and the TP from Xiaoshu as well. We're going to try, says LGD. Meteor now here. The fact that the rest of the team were doing Dragon means this is approachable, but Harry is a Sion. Sions don't really die much in the LPL.
Now. This gets dangerous.
I think you're dead now. I think you're dead now, but Doggo has to flash away as well. He still has Barrier. Doggo can try and play this. Barrier, yep, and Immortal Shield Bow. Just get me out. I'm just ready. I need to check my chicken in the oven. I need to go and eat. Ultra Prime, I think it's time to end it.
Yeah, this is a bit of a buffet. This is a bit of an all-you-can-eat because both teams are really feeling very giving today. Very generous are we to, you know, throw ourselves into the enemy carries and let them test their DPS. Really does feel like a couple of training dummies spawn every so often in one of these fights, and someone turns around and goes, "Ooh, I'll have a bit of that." Haichao does actually manage to pick up a random kill to Battleline in the middle of that fight as well. More gold over the Jace, but LGD are really not being allowed to sit and use their damage. Yes, Ning does get exploded, but it's got the double combo onto the carries. Varus doesn't actually get to impact this game, and LPC has actually had a pretty good spring so far. Wouldn't really be able to tell it from this game. The Varus has had basically no ability to impact this game. And once the AD carries it down, you do just get this really strange series of affairs where you're looking for the next round of cooldowns to come up, but no one really has the same kind of continued damage to make these fights as one-sided as we've seen before. Back towards this Barrett, see if any kind of miracle steal can come in.
Flip it. You know what? I could see it. Ning, though, playing it smart. Cataclysm on LPC again. Targeting's good, but Ning is the sacrificial lamb. As now the Sion gets the 4-man ulti. He is gigantic. That man at the gym that you're scared of. It's him! If flexing in the mirror as the quadra kill is going to come through. This could be the strangest Penta I've ever witnessed. Ladies and gentlemen, Ching deserves it, but did it come through a weird series of events?
Oh, it started off for the Realm up in the bot lane from the Lord of the Chings in the mid lane, and he's finished it off with a Penta kill. This Rise, bit of a knife in the dark, but has done so well in that last fight. 3 and 10. We're talking about Doggo for so long in this game, but Ching has had a really good game and finished it off in style.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
He didn't even smile. He's just like, yeah, this game's not our best showing. Watch again.
I don't really know what to say about this fight. It's just everyone ends up clumped in the choke. You've got a huge amount of spell flux going through from the Rise, and of course Doggo, huge amount of value from that as well. But gets a little bit scary when you jump into the solo lane as well. LGD still, neither of these teams, shall we say, particularly clean on the execution. It works out for Ultra Prime. They do have enough damage left over at the end of it, but the fact that it did end up going like in a 5-for-3, little bit concerning from this kind of lead.
No, Mira, I do the top 5 each week. I'm not putting that in. I don't care if it's a pentakill. I'm choosing not to put anything from this game in. People might see it as hard.
I think that you just don't, like, this game, you know, sometimes you have a Michelin star meal. This one is fast food for the soul, Mysterix. I feel like you're not appreciating
I love fast food, dude. I appreciate fast food. I appreciate street food.
You might not have been prescribed cholesterol before. I am doing that for you now. I think you got to learn to love the more unhealthy things.
I need to tell you, when I went to Munich for the first time, I went to Spanish tapas, right? This restaurant rated great on Google. However, I got there and everything was frozen. Even things I was biting into, frozen. That's what this is. It's a frozen meal in a fancy restaurant, and I'm down for it just for the look of it. But everything else is going to get a 1-star review as Sion doesn't die. What are you hoping? Half HP, there's the ulti, he's running away. Because he doesn't care, he refuses to elaborate. You've used everything on big old six-pack McGee, and now you're going to lose the game.
Yeah, well, LGD went very quickly to Stone Cold. What the dono, friend?
Well, he decided to make it more interesting, but will it be enough? I think everyone's still dead as they get a good ulti off. Doggo's now dead. Xiaoshu's trying his heart out, and Doggo's really trying to make it fair.
Yeah, Doggo is doing his best ruler impression from the other day. What are we doing? Friends, what are we doing?
Just end the game! Get me out! Get me out of this!
How?
You can cast this. I need to check my chicken in the oven. That's a priority.
Fails the flag and drag. Ning has done a great many cool and interesting things in this game, and his story is not quite ended in this.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Why? There's a fiesta, and then there's this.
Okay, I take it back. We have too much cholesterol. We need to have a triple heart surgery, triple heart bypass, whatever it is. I don't have the vocabulary to really accurately describe what's happening in this game. Somehow, Dragon is going to go over to LGD. Somehow, the game is not over. Somehow, we're literally getting to the point where like full items coming out from Haichao. You can't afford to dick around like this on Prime. This is so all over the place. You're giving over so much gold to very powerful members here in LGD. Getting onto the carries, good start. Killing the carries, even better start. But you cannot afford to have this such imprecise execution. As much as we're having fun with this game, you are on the verge of throwing what should be an unlosable game. I don't have words for this, Asterix.
Now you know what I've been through in all my years in this league. There are just some games like this. LGD have given me.
I'm not going to be available for Friday. Do you mind me just get? Yeah, I've got some things I got.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm absolutely loving the eye candy on show, and the fact that a player like Jin can pick up these pentakills, like Haichao can really pick up the loose threads. It shows what happens when you show that disrespect, and that's important to note as well. But the disrespect's gotta end. This game's gotta end.
Surely it does. I mean, the Sion's taking no damage under turret yet again. Taking up absolutely everything as Ultra Prime running forward, not fully committing yet. Ning thinking about it. Harry has taken so much poke damage. They're getting closer. The Xiaoshu's running in, flash away. LGD, they're defending fine. Yeah, I guess the game's going to go on.
Doggo is going again. He has a G here this time. Had the flash in the I was wondering how far he'd go with it. Harry uses his whole HP bot, teleports back, but these shot blasts are starting to really hurt. You have given a lot of gold to this Jace. Do not let him fight like this on the Pride.
Okay, flash away. If I track some of the spells in this game, I'd probably be going blind as Harry is still so tanky. He teleported in with a fresh health bar for this. Remember, Jack showed that healing is going to be massive. As now we go again. No one able to step up. I guess they have low range thanks to Doggo as the all-in is there. Ning gets a Cataclysm and Haichao is trying to poke them away, but Doggo's able to finally run forward. Flashes in. This time I think it's a good flash. Triple kill for Doggo. Haichao running for the life. Please stop. Just kill him. Let's be done with it.
They want to get the penta. He's got the quadra. Can they get him the penta?
I think he's only up to quadra. I don't care anyway. Get it to the Nexus. Refresh. Cooking's done. Chef's gone home. It is another pentakill, but ladies and gentlemen, this double penta of a game, many question marks raised about the sanity of everyone after what they've witnessed.
I know that we have like physical damage, magic damage, true damage. There's actually a 4-standard damage in the game called pure damage as well. We've actually invented one thing. Welcome to having psychic damage from League Legends.
Emotional damage.
I didn't quite realize that was possible to this extent. These are two teams which desperately need their series win today. We kind of lost the plot a little bit because the players lost a little bit of the plot towards that mid and late game, bringing up an awful lot of worries about these teams. But remember, one of these teams is going to have to walk away with a series win today, and it is incredibly important because it